What if everything you know is a lie? What if the world around you is an elaborate illusion, a carefully crafted projection designed to keep you from seeing the truth? Imagine this. You wake up one morning, the air feels thick, like a dream you can't quite shake. The sun looks the same, the city hums as usual, but something is off. The moment you try to pinpoint it, your thoughts slip away like mist between your fingers. You shake it off. Just another groggy morning, right? But then it happens again. You notice patterns repeating, strangers completing each other's sentences, moments of déjà vu that seem too precise, as if reality is correcting itself in real time. And then the flicker. Just for a split second, something in the corner of your vision glitches, warping as if the world itself is rewriting the frame you're in. It's easy to dismiss. It's just your imagination, just the way the brain works, or so we're told. But what if the glitch isn't in your mind? What if it's in reality itself? Most people assume the world is made of unshakable physical matter, something real, something definite. But science tells us otherwise. At the smallest level, the very fabric of reality behaves like a shifting illusion, responding to observation, changing when it is measured, almost as if it only exists because it is being watched. Now think about that for a second. If reality is truly physical, then why should it care whether it's being observed? And yet, at the quantum level, particles flicker in and out of existence, choosing their state the moment they are seen. As if the universe itself is running on some form of code, generating only what's necessary, only when it's needed, just like a simulation. And what about time? The past feels like a trail behind you, an unchangeable path, but memories are not perfect records. They can be rewritten, distorted, reshaped. Sometimes groups of people recall events that never happened, as if history itself is shifting beneath our feet. But how can that be, unless time is less like an endless road and more like a rewritable script? Now ask yourself, if a dream feels real while you're in it, how would you know if you were in one right now? Think about the moments that make you pause. When you walk into a room and forget why you're there, when you think of someone right before they call, that when a decision seems to be made for you before you even process the thought. These aren't just quirks of the mind. They hint at something deeper, something just beneath the surface of what we think is real. Like a program running quietly in the background, shaping your experiences, nudging you along a predetermined path, keeping you from asking the one question you're never supposed to ask. What is this place, really? And more importantly, who or what is keeping us here? You sense it before you understand it. The feeling that something is watching, waiting. Not a presence, not a person, but the world itself. A silent awareness woven into everything around you. And then it happens again. The glitch. A streetlight flickers as you pass, casting shadows that seem to stretch a fraction of a second too long before snapping back. A conversation you swear you've had before unfolds exactly as you remember, word for word, like a scene replaying on an invisible loop. You reach for your phone only to have a message appear the instant before you even touch the screen, as if the device already knew what you were going to do. Coincidence? Just your brain playing tricks? That's what we tell ourselves. But what if these aren't random at all? What if they are signs of something hidden beneath the surface, clues left behind in the very fabric of reality? We've already seen how the act of observation alters reality at the quantum level, forcing particles to choose a state. But what if this isn't just a property of subatomic particles? What if everything in our reality behaves this way, responding, shifting, recalibrating the moment we begin to notice the cracks? Think about it. The moment you begin looking for patterns, you start seeing them everywhere. The more you question the nature of reality, the stranger the world around you becomes. Events align with eerie precision. Small details refuse to stay consistent. And just when you get too close to something you weren't meant to see, reality corrects itself. Like a game rendering only the parts of the world you're meant to explore, keeping everything else out of reach. Have you ever had the feeling that the more you focus on something, the more it seems to shift and morph around you? The way time distorts in moments of heightened awareness. How minutes stretch endlessly in a crisis but disappear in an instant when you're distracted. The way memories blur and reshape themselves as if past events are being re-edited in real time. The closer you look, the more unstable reality becomes. If our world behaves like an adaptive system, adjusting to our perception, then what are its rules? Could it be that we are not moving through a fixed physical reality, but through something fluid, something that reacts to us? Consider this. When you dream, your mind generates entire landscapes, complete with people, places, and sensations. But the moment you wake up, the details collapse, leaving only fragments. What if waking reality functions the same way, constructing itself just beyond the limits of your direct awareness, shaping itself to fit your expectations? Experiments in consciousness suggest that reality isn't something external that we simply observe. It is something we co-create. Our beliefs, our focus, our very awareness may be shaping the world around us in ways we barely understand. But if reality is responding to us, then the question becomes, who set the limits? And what happens if we push beyond them? You decide to test it, just a small experiment. You pick a word, an unusual one, something you haven't thought about in years. You repeat it in your mind, focusing on it as if you were planting a seed. Then you go about your day, waiting. Hours pass. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, the word appears. In a passing conversation, on a random sign, a snippet from a radio playing in the distance. It follows you like an echo, woven into the world as if reality itself had heard you. A coincidence? Maybe. But what if this isn't luck or chance? What if this is evidence that reality is not just adapting, but responding? We already know that observation alters reality at the smallest levels, but what if your thoughts go beyond passive observation? What if they actually shape the world around you? Think about this. Have you ever noticed that certain ideas seem to manifest the more you dwell on them? The way a song you haven't heard in years suddenly plays the moment you start humming it in your head? The way a feeling of unease can seem to attract exactly the kind of situation you were dreading? It turns out this isn't just superstition. In the realm of neuroscience, studies show that the brain doesn't just passively experience reality, it filters it. What you focus on determines what your mind allows you to perceive. It's as if reality isn't fixed, but a constantly shifting projection that conforms to what your consciousness is attuned to. Now, take that one step further. If your mind actively selects what reality presents to you, could it be that it's also feeding information into the system? That your thoughts don't just shape what you notice, but also what unfolds? You've already experienced this. The moment you start seeking something, an answer, a pattern, a sign, it begins to appear. Not because it wasn't there before, but because your awareness called it forward. Like a hidden layer of reality waiting to be unlocked, revealing itself only when you know where to look. But this raises an even deeper question. If reality is responding to our thoughts, then what are we not allowed to think about? Consider the moments when your mind resists a certain idea, when an unfamiliar thought makes you uncomfortable, when a concept feels wrong without any clear reason. What if these mental barriers aren't just personal, but part of the very structure of reality itself? Like a maze designed to keep your mind inside invisible walls, a carefully woven illusion that adapts to your awareness, but always keeps you within a predefined space. And if that's true, then the real question isn't just whether we're trapped in an illusion. It's who built it and why. Like, you try to shake it, but now that the idea has surfaced, it won't leave. The world around you suddenly feels too perfect, as if it's been arranged just so. The same familiar faces appear in places they shouldn't. Conversations seem rehearsed, unfolding with mechanical precision. You decide to test reality and you break your routine, walk a different path, go somewhere you've never been. And that's when you notice it, the pause. For a fleeting moment, the world seems to lag as if it's recalibrating. Strangers hesitate before responding. A bird in mid-flight twitches unnaturally, like a frame skipping in a video. It's as if reality itself wasn't expecting your move, as if it had to catch up. That's when you realize this isn't just an illusion you're trapped in. It's an interactive one. Everything in your life has followed a pattern. You wake up at the same time, see the same places, think the same thoughts. But the moment you step outside the expected, reality struggles to keep up, because it was never designed to handle unpredictability. Now, think about how video games work. A vast open world, but only a small portion is rendered at any given time. If a player strays too far, they reach the edges of what was programmed. Sometimes things load in late. Other times you might see through the cracks, a missing texture, an object that shouldn't be there. What if the same thing happens in real life? Consider the times you've caught people reacting a second too slowly, as if processing an unexpected input. Or when you venture somewhere unfamiliar and suddenly details feel incomplete. Conversations seem generic, faces blur together, and time itself feels strangely elastic, speeding up or slowing down without reason. It's as if reality isn't fully built in those places until you arrive. But here's the strangest part. Not only does reality seem to render itself dynamically, but there are limits to where it allows you to go. Ever noticed how certain doors are always locked? Roads that lead nowhere? Places that feel strangely empty, even in a crowded city? There are places you're not meant to go, and when you try to push past, things push back. Sudden distractions, unexpected obstacles, a strange sense of unease that makes you turn around. Even people, strangers who suddenly appear to nudge you back on track as if they're part of the system itself, keeping you within the boundaries. But the real question is, what happens if you keep going? If you push far enough past the edges, past the rendered world, past the script itself? Because if reality is an illusion, if it is adapting to contain you, then something somewhere does not want you to see what's beyond it. You take a breath and step forward. Something in your gut tells you that you're not supposed to, that the script, the silent, invisible pattern that guides your life, expects you to turn around, but you don't. You push ahead, moving past the well-trodden paths, past the places that feel familiar and safe, and then you feel it. Not fear, not paranoia, but a presence. Not a person, not a thing, just a quiet, watching force woven into the fabric of reality itself. Like the moment you become aware of a camera in the room, or the eerie sensation of being observed when no one is there. And then the world reacts. A sudden interruption. A stranger stops you to ask for directions, though you've never seen anyone hesitate on this street before. A random event. A call from a number you don't recognize, pulling you back into the ordinary. A strong, irrational urge to second-guess yourself, to dismiss everything, to return to the script. This isn't chance. It's a correction. You've seen it before, but you never noticed it until now. Every time you get too close to an uncomfortable truth, distractions flood in. If you start questioning things that don't add up, life suddenly gets busy. If you begin pulling at the loose threads, you're overwhelmed with reasons to stop. It's as if reality has built-in defense mechanisms designed to keep you from looking too closely at its seams. Think about the times you've felt on the verge of a realization, only for your thoughts to scatter, as if something pushed them away. The way deja vu leaves you with an unsettling feeling, but the moment you try to hold on to it, it slips through your fingers. The way dreams, sometimes vivid, sometimes profound, dissolve the second you wake up, as if an unseen force wipes them away before you can bring them back into the waking world. It's as if reality is programmed to self-correct, to ensure that anything outside its framework simply disappears. But what is steering the correction? It's easy to assume it's something external, some vast, unseen intelligence shaping the world around us. But what if it's something deeper, something embedded within us? Consider how thoughts can be planted, how an idea can be inserted into your mind so subtly that you believe it was always yours. How distractions can come not just from the outside world, but from within your own mind. A perfectly timed wave of doubt, a sudden unexplainable forgetfulness, an instinctive need to rationalize away anything that doesn't fit the expected pattern. It's as if your own mind has been programmed to keep you inside the illusion. And if that's true, then the real question is, who or what put that code in place? And what happens if you find a way to override it? You pause. A single thought cuts through the noise, sharper than ever. If my mind is keeping me inside the illusion, then who or what gave it those instructions? The realization spreads through you like a ripple, shifting everything you thought you knew. It's not just the world around you that resists awareness. It's your own mind. The defenses aren't just external forces nudging you back into place. They are built in, woven into your perception itself. And if that's true, then the real prison isn't the world outside. It's you. For the first time, you see it clearly. Reality doesn't just react to observation. It mirrors it. The patterns you notice, the experiences that repeat, the limits you keep hitting, these aren't barriers created by some distant force. They are projections of the beliefs, expectations, and unconscious programming embedded in your mind. Think about it. Every time you assume something is impossible, it remains out of reach. The moment you believe you're stuck, the world reinforces it. But when you shift your perception, when you start seeing cracks in the illusion, the system reacts, either resisting or rearranging itself. It's as if reality is not a fixed external thing, but a construct shaped by your awareness. The boundaries aren't walls, they're reflections of the limits you've accepted. So the question isn't who is controlling reality. It's how much of it are you controlling without realizing it. If everything around you is a reflection of the consciousness observing it, then what happens if you change the observer? What happens when you step beyond the conditioned beliefs, the distractions, the invisible rules that have shaped your world without your permission? Look around. Patterns will emerge. Glitches will reveal themselves. You'll start noticing the way reality bends, not to keep you trapped, but to show you that it was never solid to begin with. So the real question is, if you could rewrite the script, what would you change first?